Imagine a sultan, locked away for 14 years, suddenly thrust onto the most powerful throne in the world. This isn't a fairy tale. It's the bizarre and tragic story of Sultan Mustafa I, the Ottoman ruler whose reign was so chaotic it happened twice. Welcome back to our series on the Ottoman sultans. Today we're diving into one of the most unusual periods in the empire's history. To understand Mustafa, we first have to talk about his brother, Ahmed I. Ahmed was the one who broke with a grim family tradition. For centuries, new sultans would have their brothers executed to prevent civil war. It was a brutal practice known as fratricide, but Ahmed couldn't bring himself to harm his younger brother, Mustafa. Instead, he locked him away in a windowless room within the palace, a section known as the cafes or the cage. For 14 long years, Mustafa lived in isolation, with the constant fear of execution hanging over his head. Historians believe this prolonged trauma severely damaged his mental health. So when Sultan Ahmed died in 1617, the court faced a dilemma. Ahmad's eldest son, Osman, was only 13. The powerful figures in the palace, particularly the chief black eunuch, saw an opportunity. They decided to put Mustafa on the throne instead, arguing he was the eldest male of the dynasty. They likely thought a mentally unstable sultan would be easy to control. From the very beginning, it was clear that Mustafa was not fit to rule. His behavior was erratic and deeply unsettling. During his first enthronement ceremony, he reportedly tried to run away, pulling on the turbans of his viziers and shouting that he didn't want the throne. On another occasion, he was seen throwing coins into the sea for the fish to eat, a strange gesture when the empire needed its treasury. He would wander the palace, knocking on doors and calling out for his deceased brother, Ahmed, completely detached from the reality of his position. The state of affairs was chaotic. Real power lay in the hands of his mother, Halim Sultan, and her son-in-law, the Grand Vizier Kara David Pasha. They ruled through Mustafa, but the government was paralyzed. The Janissaries, the elite infantry of the empire, grew restless. The empire couldn't function with a leader who was, for all intents and purposes, absent. After just 3 months, the court had seen enough. In a palace coup, Mustafa was deposed and sent back to the cafes. His young nephew, Osman II, was placed on the throne. It seemed Mustafa's brief, strange reign was over, but history had another twist in store. Osman I's reign was tumultuous. His attempts to reform the military, especially the Janissaries, made him powerful enemies. In 1622, the Janissaries revolted, stormed the palace, and deposed Osman in a brutal uprising. And who did they put back on the throne? Mustafa I. His second reign was even more chaotic and tragic than the first. The empire was in the hands of the Janissary rebels and the political factions that supported them. The climax of this turmoil was the horrific execution of the deposed Osman II, a shocking event that sent waves of horror throughout the empire. Mustafa himself was a mere pawn in this bloody game of thrones. His mother, Halim Sultan, tried to secure her power, but the situation was untenable. The empire was descending into anarchy. The treasury was empty, and rebellions were breaking out in the provinces. Finally, after a little over a year, another consensus was reached among the state elites. Mustafa had to go for good this time. He was once again deposed in 1623 and sent back to his confinement in the cafes. This time, his 11-year-old nephew, Murad IV, son of Ahmad I, was made sultan. Mustafa remained in the cafes for the rest of his life, passing away 16 years later in 1639. Mustafa I's story is a tragic one. He was a victim of a cruel system, his mind broken by years of solitary confinement and fear. His two short reigns are a stark reminder of what can happen when the center of power collapses, leaving a vacuum filled by ambition, intrigue, and violence. He is often remembered as Mustafa the Mad, but perhaps a more fitting title would be Mustafa the Unfortunate. His life highlights the brutal realities of dynastic power and the personal cost paid by those caught in its gears. Thank you for joining us for this incredible story. If you found this fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode where we'll explore the life of his successor, the formidable Murad IV. See you next time.